In this edition of Staying on Track, we're going to talk about how to have fun in the sun but staying safe at the same time. According to the CDC, the Center of Disease Control, skin cancer is the #1 form of cancer in the United States. There's about 1 million new cases every single year. And the primary cause of skin cancer is UV radiation. When talking about UV radiation, there's two types to discuss, UVA and UVB. UVA radiation is more common on the Earth's surface. About 95 to 97% of the radiation found on the Earth's surface is UVA radiation. UVA radiation does not cause a sunburn, but it does sink deeper into your skin and can cause that more of the aged look. UVB, which is less common on the Earth's surface, about 3 to 5% of radiation on the Earth's surface being UVB, that's the type of radiation that does cause a sunburn. Whether it's UVA or UVB, both are dangerous and you need to protect yourself from both. So who is most at risk for having skin damage or resulting possibly in skin cancer? That's somebody with fair skin, blonde hair, blue or green eyes, somebody that has a lot of freckles, somebody that has a lot of moles and specific types of moles related to skin cancer, somebody that works outside all day, maybe it's a construction worker or an athlete such as a softball player, baseball player who spends a lot of time outdoors, somebody with a family history of skin cancer. So now it's important to talk about ways of protecting yourself from skin damage, from UV radiation. The easiest thing to do is to be careful of the amount of time that you spend outside, specifically within the hours of about 10 a.m. in the morning to about 4 or 5 p.m. at night. That's when, during that time is when radiation is the highest. So during those times you want to limit your exposure to the sun. Another thing that you can do is to wear protective clothing. So maybe that's long sleeves, wearing long pants and a wide brimmed hat. But there's always times when you want to be outside and by the pool and you don't want to wear long sleeves or long pants. So it's important then to use some sort of sunscreen. When shopping for a sunscreen, when you go to the store, you'll go to the sunscreen aisle and you'll see multiple varieties of sunscreen and be maybe a little bit confused on what you should get and what's the most allowing for the most protection. So I brought a few different examples with me here today. So some key things to talk about. One is the SPF factor on sunscreen, and you'll notice the wide range from SPF 15 or 30 all the way up to something above 100. So SPF stands for sun protection factor. The important thing to remember about SPF is that it only protects against UVB radiation, which is the less common type of radiation. So while SPF factor is only rating UVB radiation, you can find sunscreen that's called broad spectrum, which covers UVA and UVB. Both of these examples happen to have UVA and UVB protection in them. So that's an important thing to be looking for. In the past, sunscreen hasn't been federally regulated, so there was a lot of marketing going on with sunscreen that couldn't be scientifically proven, such as a sunscreen being water resistant or water repellent, one that you wouldn't rub off, or that allowed for a certain level of rating, the SPF factor. Until recently, the FDA just announced that they're going to be regulating all of these factors. So actually next summer when you go to buy sunscreen, the packaging will look very different. You'll probably see a lot less products that say water resistant or sweat proof. And the SPF factor is going to be much more regulated. The minimum, I believe, is going to be 30 SPF and the maximum you're going to see is 80. So while an SPF of 15 will become the new minimum allowed for sunscreen, most dermatologists recommend using an SPF 30, which is said to block out about 95% of UV rays. Another consideration to think about when choosing a sunscreen is that there's two different types. There's a chemical sunscreen and a physical sunscreen. A chemical sunscreen is a solution that you'll rub on your skin and it'll absorb into your skin. Physical, which is a mineral-based sunscreen, actually just sits on top of your skin and doesn't absorb in. The differences with this is a chemical sunscreen, when it absorbs into your skin, can end up leaching into your bloodstream, where a mineral-based one will not. There is more and more research being done today on the chemical sunscreens and whether or not the additives in there, if they themselves can cause cancer. So there's different organizations doing a lot of research. There's one organization that's doing a lot of research on this and putting out information to let you know as a consumer which sunscreens are safe to use and which ones are not. And that's the Environmental Working Group. You can go to their website, which is www.ewg.org. In their search engine, type in sunscreen and you'll see a variety of articles on different types of sunscreens, and they'll say which ones are safe to use and which ones are not safe. One thing that we should also discuss is what it means to have a tan. When you develop a tan, really that's a sign to your body that your skin has been damaged. When your skin is damaged, it naturally releases more pigment, turning it a darker color. One final note about using sunscreen is to make sure that you're using a product that is safe, but also at the same time using enough of that product and applying it often enough, which is some things that dermatologists say that we do not do enough. So the amount of sunscreen an adult should use is about the size of one golf ball, and you should apply that every 2 hours at a minimum.